Why Finland? Like, oh my god, this is silly, but like, manly world of Finland. Marrying this person, no. Hello, welcome to my little corner of the internet. I'm Valentina, and pretty much exactly 7 years ago, I moved to Helsinki, Finland. Today, I'll be answering the questions that many of you lovely souls have submitted on Instagram. So we'll get into the good, the bad, the ugly of life here in Finland. Little disclaimer before we get started. This is purely about my experiences as an EU citizen moving from one EU country to another. I'm fully aware that there are a lot of foreigners whose experiences of moving here have been very different from mine. Grab yourselves a cup of coffee or a tea or a matcha or whatever floats your boat, and let's get into it. To give you a little bit of background, I was born and raised in Austria, but have also lived in the US and in Germany before moving to Finland in February of 2019. The reason I moved here was my boyfriend at the time, and as a matter of fact, love is actually a very common reason for foreigners to move here. It's either that or studying. So the first question is, moving to another country starter kit. I should start by saying that it was very easy to move here from one EU country, which is Austria, to another one, which is Finland. Also, the job search turned out to be very easy for me, which I'm fully aware is really a privilege because over the years I have met so many foreigners that have first had to work jobs totally outside of their field of studies just in order to make a living here before they finally found a job in the field of their studies. When I moved here, I had previously quit my job in Austria, so I was unemployed. And I found out that within the EU, if you're moving from one country to the next, you can actually take your unemployment benefit with you. So what I did is I moved here, I registered as unemployed in Finland, and they kept paying my unemployment benefit. Luckily enough, I found a job within a month of moving here. When you're moving to another country, it is useful to have a plan B. So if you can't find a job within a certain time frame, then make sure you know what else you're gonna do. In my case, that would have been to start my master's. Also, 2019 is a long time ago, and that was pre-pandemic. So the economy in Finland was very different. It was better. So I think it was definitely easier to find jobs in general. And of course, in that case, also easier as a non-Finnish speaking foreigner to find one. Another thing that I've really enjoyed about living in Finland is the lack of bureaucracy. And I'm sure that some people are gonna disagree with me on that, especially non-EU citizens. But from my perspective, it was incredibly easy. So literally all I had to do was register here, show them my employment contract, and once you have that, you can get your social security number. With the social security number, the whole world of Finland is open to you. That's literally all you need to live here. So once you have that, you can open a bank account and then you're pretty much set. But sometimes getting to the social security number and of course getting that permanent work contract, and with that, the permanent residency, that can be incredibly difficult. Another thing is the fact that most information is available in English. If you don't know, the national languages in Finland are both Finnish and Swedish. But thankfully, everyone speaks really good English here, especially in the capital area, making it very, very easy for foreigners to move here. Another important aspect of life and of moving to another place is, of course, the local language. And you really can't talk about Finland without talking about this beautifully complex language. Finnish is my 6th language, and boy, it is a tricky one. The words are really nothing like anything else you've ever encountered. That just makes it very, very difficult to memorize the vocab. For foreigners, it's also very easy to just take the easy route, meaning go down the English path, because everyone here in Helsinki speaks English, so there's always the easy way out and you can easily avoid speaking Finnish in your day-to-day life unless you force yourself to. Finnish is a really beautiful language, and it fascinates me how it can sound so, excuse the term, I know this is silly, but like manly when men speak it, but so fairy-like when women speak it. It's really beautiful. Over the years, my motivation to get better at Finnish have definitely decreased, especially during the last year after my breakup with a Finn. I've been asking myself many times for how much longer I actually still want to live here. Is Finland still the place where I can see myself having a future or not? So that's definitely played into it a lot. When I moved here, I didn't want to overwhelm myself too much, so I waited a little bit with starting a Finnish course. Maybe half a year or so later, I signed up to a Finnish course and continued studying Finnish for about 2 years. After which I thought that my Finnish is at a decent enough level to understand everyday conversations, as well as to have everyday conversations with people. At this point, I'm totally satisfied with my Finnish level, and I know that I will never ever be fully fluent, let alone at a native speaker level, but that's also not my goal for myself or my aspiration, because it is a lot to juggle work life, social life, and learning a very difficult foreign language as an adult. Since this question was about me providing you with a starter kit of moving to another country, my tip is learn the local language, be it Finnish or Swedish, a little bit in order to better understand the country, the culture, and the people. It'll also instill a sense of appreciation for this new country that you just moved to in you. Otherwise, you might easily feel left out, and everything might feel very or even more foreign. Will knowing Finnish help with your job search here? My personal experience is no. I usually tell my friends that unless you speak Finnish at a native level, you're not gonna have an advantage in your job search. I have only ever been considered for English-speaking jobs. So from my experience, either you speak Finnish at a native level or you don't need to speak it at all. There's no in between. Companies are not gonna give you a little bit of credit for knowing everyday Finnish. When they say they need you to speak Finnish, they usually don't make exceptions. And sometimes it's ridiculous because everyone inside that company and even the clients they work with speak great English, but for whatever reason, legacy reasons, etc., they still do require native level Finnish. That's just the sad reality. Don't compare how things are being done here to how things are being done back home, and simply accept that things are different. They're not better, they're not worse, they're just different. I think that is a very healthy mindset to adopt, and the foreigners that I've met over the years that have adopted that mindset are usually the most satisfied. There'll be good days of living abroad. There'll be bad days where you will be pissed at every single innocent Finn out there on the streets for no particular reason. And you know, it comes and goes in phases, and that's fine. It's not their fault. You might just be in a bad mood. You'd probably also have those moments if you were still in your home country. Should you move abroad? Who am I to tell you not to? If you feel like it is what you really want to do, or it is what you have to do in order to be with the person you love, then go for it. Just do it. You'll never know unless you try. And what's the worst thing that can happen? We only have this one life, and if we want to do something, we have to go for it, regardless of the hurdles that might be put in place. It's really crucial that you do it for yourself because you really want it. So what I mean is not that do it because your partner is too lazy to move to your country. I'm saying move here if that's what you really want to do, and if that's a thing that you could also have seen yourself do without ever having met that partner. I think that's the reason I'm still here, because yes, I moved here because of him, but I also might have ended up here was it not for him. That's, I think, what is still keeping me here, because he was never the only reason I have enjoyed life here. I think there needs to be more to the reason you move abroad than just one thing. So try and figure that out. If it's really just because of your partner that you're moving, and other than that you don't really care about anything else in that country, or are there maybe multiple reasons why you'd want to take that big step? Do I struggle with seasonal depression? What are you doing to prevent it? Short answer, thankfully, not really. It is now March and winter is still in full swing. Winter is extremely long in Finland and also very dark, but thankfully come mid-February, the days do get quite a bit longer, so you can really feel a difference, and there's usually more daylight and sometimes even more sunlight. This time of year now is actually the most difficult one for me, because back home in Austria and in other places on the internet, people are talking about the arrival of spring. They're talking about swapping out the winter jackets for a lighter transitional jacket. And I'm just thinking to myself, yeah, we're 2 months away from that. So this time of year is very frustrating for me. Couple of things that I do to keep the seasonal depression at bay. I bought a bright light lamp a couple of years ago. I should have probably gotten it earlier. I can link it down in the description. It does help make the dark mornings a little brighter. Another thing that I have been taking for several years now is vitamin D. I do think it helps. I mean, it's scientifically proven. Another important thing is that you make your apartment as cozy as possible. So that can be with small light sources, lighting candles, just, you know, cozying up on the sofa and channeling the dark, gloomy, cozy energy, because you will be spending a lot of time at home during winter. For me personally, a routine is very important. So regardless of how early it gets dark, I stick to my gym routine religiously. I work from home a lot, so sometimes in winter, the gym is the only reason for me to leave the house. And of course, you might not be feeling like it always. Force yourself to do something. Doesn't have to be the gym. Go for a walk at noon when it's the brightest usually, or the lightest shade of dark, and try to stay active. It releases endorphins, and that's really what you need during that time of year. Another thing I like to do is wearing a pop of color. Most people's winter jackets are black, so if you look outside, you'll notice a lot of people wearing black. I think even wearing a colorful beanie or a cute colorful scarf can really brighten your mood and cheer you up, and not just you, but also other people looking at you. And lastly, you know me, I love a good cafe and a pastry, so treat yourself to something nice, whatever that is for you. Next question is, what are the cultural differences between Finland and Austria? I think the biggest difference is probably the people. People here in Finland are way more quiet and reserved than Austrians. Finns are way more respectful of other people's personal space and generally more aware of their surroundings. That's something that I value greatly, and over the years I have also gotten so much better at watching out for other people, being aware of what's around me. I feel like in Finland, so much of the communication with strangers happens silently. You're hardly ever saying anything to anyone. You might not even say anteeksi, so like sorry or excuse me, to someone. It might all just happen through very subtle gestures of moving out of people's way, or I don't know, maybe like nodding or making some sort of very subtle facial expression. Another difference is that Austrians are more communal and Finns are more individualistic. Families in Austria, I feel like, are a little more close-knit than here in Finland. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that one thing is better than the other. It is just different, and those are my observations. And families are very individual, so don't hate on me. Young adults become independent earlier here than they do in Austria. Most Finns I know moved out of their parents' place at 18. In Austria, some kids might still be living home until their early 20s, for example. In Finland, especially in Helsinki, rents are much higher than in Austria. About making friends as an adult here, I'm not sure if it is easy anywhere, but I do think that making eye contact with someone or saying hi to someone that you regularly come across, say at the gym, would happen more quickly in Austria than it happens here. There are sadly way fewer public holidays here in Finland than there are in Austria. In July, most people take 4 weeks off, so there's not a lot of work to be done in Finnish companies during July. It's definitely not the most productive season. So if you really need time to focus on something or get stuff done, don't take July off, but maybe take a little bit of August off or June or whatever, because working in July is probably the chillest thing ever, and you're definitely not going to have any meetings because most of your coworkers are all going to be off for 4 weeks. Another topic to talk about is alcohol consumption. Here in Finland, it is pretty much frowned upon to day drink. Alcohol is very expensive here compared to Austria, and while I do think it's a very, very good development that people consume way less alcohol on a daily basis, I don't think that it is smart to restrict it as much as the government has done. Cash plays absolutely no role in my day-to-day life here, And in Austria, it still does. It's of course also decreasing, but yeah, in Finland, things are much more digital. So most people pay by card or just straight through their phone. The weather, of course, is much milder in Austria, much harsher here in Finland. Winter does last a lot longer. Making friends works a little differently here and in the Nordics in general. So it happens a lot through signing up to joint activities and doing an activity together. Whereas in Austria, it might be much more common to just invite someone over for coffee or go out for a drink at some point without necessarily having met through a joint hobby. Life in general is much more digital here and it's very streamlined. So for example, when you're searching for an apartment, there's, I believe, 2 main apps where every single apartment that's available for sale or rent is listed. So that just makes it super easy to know where to go when you need a new apartment. You don't have to scour through 50 different online portals and figure out how they work. And I could have a perfectly fine life here in Helsinki without knowing a word of Finnish. In Austria, especially on the countryside, you will probably have a different experience, and maybe to some extent even in the capital. Alrighty, last question. Biggest surprises or positive things when living in Finland? People respecting your personal space, which is both good and bad. I think I don't need to explain why it is good, but the bad part of that can be that it's hard to form connections. It can take a long time for you to even make eye contact with people. And whenever you make eye contact, you're like, oh my God, I think I'm like marrying this person. You start to romanticize eye contact because it happens so rarely. Most of the time people are just staring at the floor, not trying to look at other people, especially at the gym, which can be very respectful. But at the same time, what if you might want to start talking to someone? It's hard to break the ice, form those connections. Design is life. There are so many furniture designers, famous architects from Finland. Austria is more famous for its composers, its artists, etc. Think of Alvar Aalto, think of Eliel Saarinen, a famous architect. Think of brands like Marimekko and Iittala. It's beautiful, high quality, timeless design, and Finns greatly value it, and so do I. Maybe because winters are so long, there's this deep appreciation of having nice furniture and high quality items in your own home. The distances within Finland are humongous. Driving to a decent mountain to ski on, driving to a hill to be able to downhill ski takes 11 hours plus. Finns love practicality. I'd say practicality over everything. And it makes life very easy here. Think of the dish drying cabinets. Think of the haalarit, overalls that parents put on their children so that they can go play outside without being afraid of getting them dirty because they're easy to rinse off. So there's this practicality that's baked into every life. How have other countries not copied more of that? Stores are open Sundays and on most holidays. Super easy. You'll never have to think about when to do your grocery shopping. Many stores are even open around the clock. People having beer in sauna, mind-boggling. And I like it. Like, I'm not gonna say no to it, but like drinking beer inside the sauna, it's quite something. People saying it's hot when it's barely 26 degrees outside. Now about food. Finns love cucumber. For Christmas, they eat vegetables out of strange aluminum boxes that they call laatikko. And then there's this thing called voileipäkakku, which I despise. Men's names ending in the letter I. This was very funny for me when moving here, when one of the first guys I met at work was named Jani, because whenever you add an I to the end of a name in German, it would be considered a nickname or a sort of cutified version of that name, sort of like Jani meaning little Jan. Buildings are incredibly well insulated, which is fantastic when it's freaking cold outside, but it can be awful in summer because they gather the heat inside and your apartment can easily feel like a sauna, even though it barely ever gets to 30 degrees here in Finland. People have bought ACs for their apartments. Thankfully, the current building I live in has some inbuilt ventilation system, so it's both very cozy in winter and cool in summer. One annoying thing is the fact that there's hardly any table service anywhere, so you always order and pay straight at the counter, and in many places they don't even bring the coffee to your table, but you'll have to pick it up. Because eating out is expensive, it's sometimes annoying because you're paying a lot of money, but the level of service you get is just not really there. One thing I really appreciate is that nature, for the most part, is totally untouched and not redesigned for tourism. In some cases, you even have to pull yourself across a lake on a wooden raft. Lastly, there's this wonderful appreciation of the simple life and the slow life. Many families have summer cottages outside the cities that only have basic amenities. Sometimes they don't even have a toilet inside the house, but you'll have to go outside to do your business. So it's very rudimentary. You're kind of slowing down and you're enjoying the process of making food, of collecting firewood, of going outside to do your business. It's very refreshing and it really takes the speed out of the busy, hectic city life. Next question. Do you ever miss living in the States? Yes and no. I have lived in the US twice in the past. First time was as a 15-year-old doing an exchange year in Eugene, Oregon on the west coast of the United States. And the second time was when I was 21. I was doing an internship in Miami. Very different places, very different experiences. And it's a little hard for me now as a 30-year-old adult to compare adult life in Finland or Austria, my home country, to the US, because apart from doing an internship, I have not experienced real adult life, work life in the US before. I have since then visited the US multiple times, and whenever I visit, I get this very overwhelming feeling of, wow, these are my people. And that really is a feeling that I never get here in Finland, nor in Austria, nor in any other place I have visited. So I don't know what it is about the US or specifically the Pacific Northwest that moves me so deeply. Maybe I've lived there in a past life. Who knows? There are a lot of things I absolutely love about the US. The coffee culture in the Northwest, the friendly people, the small talk. I'm like getting emotional. The vastness of the country, like just how huge it is and just breathtaking. Wow, maybe I should move back because I'm tearing up just thinking about it. Yeah, the Pacific Ocean is just, it's just magnificent, really. Bagels, donuts, hot dogs and pizza. Of course, there's a lot of things happening that are very disturbing and extremely problematic. So I am glad to be living in an EU country, but there will probably always be a little part inside of me that will be thinking, what if, or would that be the place where I feel like I belong the most? In Finland, I do feel that I belong, but I also feel like an alien and very different from the rest of the society. I'm very much in my own foreigner bubble where I speak English and German every day, and I'm very far removed from what the typical Finn would consume on a daily basis, be it news, be it TV, be it social media. So I barely recognize any Finnish celebrities. So that's the part of life that is sometimes a little alienating. And also the fact that in many settings, I am the only foreigner. Especially after my breakup, a lot of people have been asking me about whether I'm still gonna continue living here, when am I moving away, what are my plans, what's keeping me here. And to be honest, I don't know. I just try to take it day by day and figure out what I want in life and figure out what it is that I so very much like about life in Helsinki. I've been thinking a lot lately that theoretically I could be living anywhere in the world. Why Finland? Where would I rather live? Maybe a place with a longer summer and a shorter winter. Maybe a place where people are a little more approachable. Maybe a place that's a little more diverse. If you're interested in seeing how my journey continues, leave a like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram. How have your experiences of living in Finland been? Comment down below and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!